All right, so we're back here on another Couch Coach Live. Our new time on Wednesdays now, under the lights here in Couch Coach Live, man. Another Wednesday. We got through half of the week already. What's going on, fellas? What's going on, Maui?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Everything good. What's going on, JB?
Nothing much, man. Everything is going good. Oh, Maui, man, you're the MVP, man. I gotta tell you, man. You put me onto Marcos. You put me onto
Oh,
Marcos, man. Marcos is amazing, man.
Yeah, man. It's flame.
let me tell you something about
Yes.
Marcos. Let me tell you something about Marcos. Man, I could be having a stressed out day. The one in Colonial Heights, hit them up online. Sometimes I go in there and they say, "Hey, since you're so nice, we're gonna go ahead and up you." And I'm like, "You gonna up me? You mean you gonna give me a love? You ain't gonna charge? No." Then they call me. Hey, you still want to cut like squares, right? I'm like, you know, I still want to cut like squares. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, man. It's flame. Yeah, absolutely. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. So we'll do somewhat of an exit interview for the LA Lakers. Of course, with our Laker guy here. So we definitely gotta have an official exit interview for him. Then also we'll talk about Coach K retirement. We'll actually talk about some news that's brewing now in college football where we have a potential college football expansion. And then we'll also talk about the Julio Jones trade and some other things for tonight. So before we get started, man, let's kick that intro and we'll get that going and we'll get the show rolling momentarily. All right, so we're back here on Couch Coach Live. So the first topic tonight that we want to discuss is the Los Angeles Lakers, and we talked about them last week as far as kind of being on the verge of being eliminated, and it actually did happen 48 hours after we recorded
Hmm.
last week. They lost to the Phoenix Suns in the four games to two. So our resident Laker guy, we already know what happened. We're not gonna kind of rehash all that. What's on the horizon for next year, man? Your thoughts on the season, and then what's gonna happen for you guys next year, Maui?
You know, you didn't have to say my name like that. I just feel like, I just feel like I'm being treated something. Y'all wanna double team me because last year I was on one. And this is 2021, and we supposed to be brothers. So y'all should have some compassion for me and what I'm going through. You know what I mean? Don't make no sense. How you don't make no points in a playoff game? And you talking for you want 87 million dollars? Well, you can get a two piece in a bucket, and some mashed potatoes and coleslaw from churches. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
How you don't make any points? I guess y'all don't feel my pain. Maybe it's
I
just
mean,
all right.
hey,
I mean, hey, put it like this. I just think that they seem like the two stars was hurt. I think they tried to make something out of something. I never really liked this squad anyway, and I always feel like I hated, regardless, I hated losing Rondo because I felt like if when LeBron sometimes when he's in the game, he can get the game controllable, then they'll take him out the game. And having Rondo, it's like okay, you got somebody whose basketball IQ is just as good as LeBron's is. You know what I mean? And then dealing with it just always seemed like they were trying to figure it out the whole year. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I just and everybody really was saying that they were really happy with this team and they felt like they was improved on paper. I think one thing about watching sports is we got to watch sports. You know what I mean? And sometimes you look at the numbers and you think this, and that, but sometimes you got to watch it. You know what I mean? And you can see it just didn't. They just couldn't figure it out, man. You know what I mean? They just couldn't figure it out. Like it just. And then once AD, because I feel like sometimes when you a championship team or a deep playoff team, even if your stars, a star get hurt or two stars, you still got to be able to figure it out until they can come back healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Next year, it's a lot of free agents. It's a lot of dudes that are opting out. Me personally, I'm excited that they're going to get some rest because I felt like one thing about a lot of stuff I'm gonna talk about today. I think people forgot there was a pandemic last year, and everybody's acting like everything is the norm. And I still feel like it's not normal just yet. Just like the NFL season, a lot of people didn't play that usually play because they didn't. If I'm mistaken with that, didn't a lot of dudes decided that they wasn't going to play because of
some people opt out.
Right.
Yeah.
And then,
and more so in the NFL than in any other sport. You
Right,
had like
right.
a lot of opt-outs. Yeah,
Right.
you did.
So I mean, the reason I'm saying that is because I know they're trying to make us feel like things are the norm. And when I do the Gameball, I'm going to speak on that. But I felt like if you pay attention to this NBA playoffs, there's only one team that was deep in the playoffs that's still in there, and
Denver.
that's the Nuggets.
Yep.
That's the Nuggets. Everybody else has been eliminated in the first round and didn't make the playoffs. You know what I mean? I'm not making any excuses because I do feel like these Lakers won the championship and they got comfortable. They was eating shrimps, people patting them on their back. You know what I mean? And they didn't have that. They didn't have that get up and go like they had last year. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping. I got confidence though. I think next season is going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be able to hopefully bring some things together. They just can't think. They just put some people together and they can win the championship.
Yeah. JB, your thoughts on the Lakers?
So two things. I want to talk to I agree with what you said a bit, Deshaun, about I think them winning last year probably hurt them, but I also think in a way, I think the pandemic helped them last year. So, I mean, you look at what happened. There was a 4-month stoppage. And I mean, I think that the 4-month stoppage actually really helped LeBron because LeBron actually, he came back like he was fresh. So I think that helped him. And then also you look at AD's injury history, him getting that 4-month break was probably perfect for him last year too, because this guy, he's only had 2 seasons where I think he's played more than 74 games. He's injury prone. Let's just call it what it is. He's a great player, but he's injury prone. So yeah, I think it helped them win the championship, but then I think for this year it definitely hurt them because they had 73 days off.
So, they
had 73 days off. And you did touch on the fact that basically all the teams that made the conference finals last year are all done. All of them got knocked out in the first round. You had the Lakers go out in 6, Celtics went out in 5, and Miami got swept. And Denver's the only one left standing. And I think Denver is probably going to get eliminated this round too, but that's a different story. But I didn't like their offseason, man. I thought that there were a lot of things that they did that I just thought wasn't smart. I got into so many arguments with Laker fans about Danny Green, and they were like, "Oh, he's garbage. Danny Green's a different player than Schrader, man. Like Schrader, if you look at Schrader's history, Schrader has only been really effective when you pair him with another guard. So last year in Oklahoma City was a perfect situation with him. He was playing with Chris Paul and he was playing with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's not the same, and he's not the same, man. I think Danny Green is definitely a more valuable playoff player. Like Danny Green's a 3-and-D guy. I think Danny Green actually would have been probably one of the better shooters on this team. I think that off of this Laker team, LeBron and AD were by far the best shooters. And Danny Green would have been another, reliable shooter. You also look at Montrezl Harrell. Look, if you're trying to make the playoffs, Montrezl Harrell he's a great guy to have. You can play him a lot of minutes, but in the playoffs, depending on the matchup, you're not going to be able to play him. You saw what happened to him last year in the bubble when basically he was getting murdered. He basically Jokic made him unplayable. And I mean, then boy, he had 2 do not plays in the first round or whatever. And I just thought a lot of the moves that they made in the offseason, they didn't make and I'll say this, I think LeBron's last Cleveland team, 2018, that was a flawed team. The fact that he got them to the finals is something else. We've already talked about this again. But that 2018 Cleveland team made more sense than this Laker team. That 2018 Cleveland team at least had shooters on there, so he could operate. But this team really didn't have any shooters, and they just didn't have any chemistry. And then the other thing too, why did they sign Drummond? Drummond. There's no spacing. There's no spacing. There's no spacing on the court. Drummond mucks thing up. I think LeBron is most dangerous when LeBron has lanes where he can actually drive. Now, LeBron was definitely not himself. You saw like I think maybe what
I think he. It's. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's like he looked fatigued. He looked
he did.
mentally and physically
fatigued. Well, I mean, dude, he's played 60,000 minutes, man, and I think that and this is the other thing I'm gonna touch on too. We didn't talk about this, but during the trade deadline, why do you not go out and get Kyle Lowry? Like, here's my thing, man. So the holdup was Taylor Horton Tucker and like a first or second round pick in like 2027, 2028. LeBron James isn't going to be on the Lakers in 2027, 2028. Anthony Davis, the way he's going, is probably not going to be in the team in like 7 years. So I mean, like, all right. So here's the question I think that you really have to ask why you don't make the deal. Do you think Taylor Horton Tucker is going to be as good as what Kyle Lowry is in next year? Because I don't think so. And I think I would much rather have Kyle Lowry with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, so I can at least try to win a championship before LeBron James, before Father Time finally catches up with him. And, this is 2 of the past 3 years where LeBron James has missed substantial time. I mean, like, he's not getting any younger, and I think that they kind of took his greatness for granted. I mean, he's not
like they always
this is not a 31, 32-year-old LeBron James where he can, like, put a team on his back and, get them like, far away. I mean, if you do this again next year with Anthony Davis injury issues, the same thing's going to happen again if you don't change the team up. But I think that they should have went out. They should have gotten Kyle Lowry. And I don't understand why they didn't. I think, I don't understand it.
Hey, Chris, can I rebuttal?
Yeah.
One of the most important things of getting Rondo, and I'm just going to say this, one of the things to get Rondo was because of Anthony Davis. The person he's had the most success with is actually Rondo, more than LeBron. He went in the playoffs with Rondo. You know what I mean? Yeah. He won a championship with Rondo. You know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons I hated that they let him go. And then you understand the importance of having McGee and Dwight Howard, because even if AD, it's not a lot of pressure on him. Even if AD is hurt or he's feeling so banged up, he can go ahead and take some games off, and you still got JaVale McGee, you still got Dwight Howard. You know what I mean? And I think also the 2020 team, they really, when it was the trade deadline, they really didn't lose anything. They waived one of their guards. They waived Cousins. They really didn't lose anything, and then they just added on to it. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know. This offseason is going to be very interesting because it's like a reboot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like a reboot.
Yeah, and I think really ultimately what it boiled down to was the injuries. I think Anthony Davis injury, which we talked about it last week, JB, where it was a compound of both the injuries kind of coming together, and we knew like in Game 6 he was done. Like as far as even him walking into the building, I knew he won't go do much. I mean, he was just walking so gingerly, and then LeBron injury as well, and like you said, LeBron is getting any older. He'll be 37 in December, so. And going into his 19th year in the league, so you just look at just that war of attrition off of him, and like you said, getting rid of shooters like Danny Green, definitely, and that's what you really need. You need the shooters, you need the scorers, because you look at it like even in that Phoenix series where Chris Paul and Booker pretty much was like, all right, I'll do y'all thing. I think they only had like one game where I think Schroeder was balling, doing his thing. But they can just sit back on defense and be like, all right, cool. Just hey, I'll put up my 50 points on the offensive end or whatever. And then let Caruso and all them just let them be open and let them just do what they got to do.
And then they underachieved, man. Like everybody that they signed, everybody was like, oh, this is I think they should have done more with Montrezl Harrell anyway. But at the same time, everybody they signed really underachieved. I mean, Wes Matthews, like, it was ridiculous. You'd be praying for the ball to go in, every time he shot,
He's another one.
It was almost like,
but in his defense though, I mean, like, I think that we can just like say this, man, Wes Matthews has not been the same player, like, since he tore his Achilles in 2015. And I mean, you can even tell in Milwaukee that he's not the same guy. Now, I think I think that it's just about expectations. I think that they were expecting someone. I think that if you watch Wes Matthews the last few years, I mean, I think that you got a guy who's going to play solid defense for you, but he's not a good shooter anymore. Yeah, but I mean, like, I think that they signed a lot of these people thinking that, like, okay, I think that when you make these deals, sometimes I think that, like, I just think that the front office shit the bed. They really shit the bed this offseason. They really did. They replaced a lot of guys. And my thing is this, like, to me, it seemed like they were like, okay, we're doing this for the regular season. But when you're the Lakers, it's not about the regular season. It's about the playoffs.
Right.
And they sign a lot of guys that don't have really good playoff track records. Montrezl Harrell doesn't have a good playoff track record. Dennis Schrader does not have a good playoff track record. These are good guys in the regular season, but you know, like, and people, it was cringeworthy because, like, a lot of Laker fans were really talking a lot of mess about Danny Green. I'm like, okay, Danny Green. Okay, sometimes the shot doesn't go in, but Danny Green, he's a better defender than what Dennis Schrader is. And I'm just like, look, man, like Danny Green, and look. Danny Green has done it before in the finals. I mean, this dude has won 3 championships. I mean, even the year the San Antonio lost to Miami, I mean, he hit a bunch of threes. Now, he went cold the last few games of that series, but the first 5 games of 2013, Danny Green was balling. Like, this guy has proven that when he's in a big moment that he can perform where Schrader never has. Schrader's, like, if you look at his postseason numbers are abysmal. He plays really bad in the playoffs. And this has been going on, you know, since when he was in Atlanta.
And you know what else? The Utah Jazz team is special. You can see it. That Memphis Grizzlies team is special. They get along. You can see it. What else team?
Phoenix get
along. Yeah, you can feel it and you can see it. Yeah. This Laker team is not like the 2020 team. Like,
no
literally.
Chemistry. No chemistry. There was no chemistry.
Like, that's the truth. Literally, these dudes. Cousins, like, it gave Cousins a different personality where he was like, man, this has got to be the best team I ever been with. Like, we literally hang out. Like, we literally would be like, what y'all about to do? This before the pandemic. Oh, we about to go eat and go to the movies. Well, cool. The whole team would go. Like, it literally, I hate to say that, I knew once Cook left that, okay, yeah, this is probably, and not because he was going to do anything, but you could just sense like, okay, this is, this ain't gonna work out. Like, you know what I mean? Something ain't gonna be right.
And they really swapped out scores for guys who play defense, which in this league, you got to get some offensive, guys in there. I mean, when you sit down and think about it, because everybody kept on talking about in the season, the Lakers defense is great. It's great.
Right. But maybe like 5-6 minutes they don't score.
And we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that with Jalen the other day. Well, not the other day, but a few weeks ago. And then also the chemistry. And you got to think about it. This team was built together within 70-something days. So it's kind of hard to have that kind of continuity. And then especially the way that things were restricted at this time, because like I said, you really couldn't go out. Lord, they almost crucified LeBron James for going out to a party 3 weeks ago. So you couldn't do nothing with people, and I mean they were at a point where if somebody came to your house, that's not you can be in violation. So the chemistry obviously wasn't there just due to those type of factors, but it just also it boils down to just the injuries where if you had them at full strength, we'd probably talking about them playing potentially Denver tonight in game 2 potentially. But I mean, it's here nor there. But I mean, and it's a good thing, like you said. And I don't know if you remember we talked about this in 2019, where it's LeBron coming off a rest. It's kind of not a sure thing, but it's one of the things where it's like you kind of feel confident with a well-rested LeBron James.
Right.
And that's one thing. I remember when he missed the playoffs in 2019. It's like, man, he could come back with a vengeance.
In 2020, I think they were tired, man. I know in 2020, that's why they try to make it a defensive team to slow it down a little bit. Because in this season, in 2020, they were a run and gun team. Like they fast break. Like soon as they get a steal or alley oop, they going down court. You know what I mean? They kept everybody on their heels. That's why they dominated so much. And like I said, they really didn't lose anything. They basically had the same squad the whole year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I'm it's exciting. It's so many people gonna opt out of their contract this season. they on their last year of their contract. They're gonna most likely opt out. There's so many unrestricted free agents. It's just gonna be interesting to see how everybody go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, big time, and yeah, as you talked about earlier about about your boy Quinn Cook. So, of course, Quinn Cook went to Duke University. Well, our next topic we're going to talk about Coach K. So, Coach K, actually, it's crazy because we did the show last Tuesday, and then this news broke actually a week ago, right around this time last. So Coach K is planning to retire after the 2021 season. So in his 41 years at Duke, he's had 1,170 victories, 5 championships, and 12 Final Four appearances. So I'm gonna go with our resident Duke guy, JB. Your thoughts on Coach K retiring?
Oh man, I knew this day was gonna come. It's a sad day, but like, I mean, he doesn't really have anything else to prove. I mean, like the fact that I was, it was funny. I was looking at the ACC Sports Network, and I was looking at the documentary about like the class that changed everything for him because, like, man, they had some rough years in the beginning. They had some really bad years in the beginning, but I mean, like he has nothing else to prove. I mean, and you don't want it to be one of these situations where if you're a coach, you hang around for too long, and then the recruiting slips, and then it kind of tarnishes like what's going on. And I think that like what he's 74. I mean, like he doesn't really have anything else to prove it. I mean, he won 5 championships in like 30 years. Like that's pretty impressive, man. 12 Final Fours in like 33, 34 years. I mean, he's had a really, really, really good run. I mean, like like he has nothing else to prove, man. I'm sad from selfish reasons because I'm a bit skeptical about how Shire is going to be able to replace him, because it all comes down to recruiting, man. Like if you can't recruit, man, your program can go downhill. You even saw what happened with North Carolina after Dean Smith left for a little bit before Roy Williams came. They had slipped a little bit. So I mean, like, they might be in good hands, they might not be, but he has something else to prove.
Yeah. What you got, Maui? Your thoughts?
I was, and you basically said it, you broke everything that I was going to say. Also against North Carolina, he was, with Williams, he was 23-19, and against Dean Smith, he was 14-26, arch rival. So I was wondering why would he retire now, and you know what I mean. And he said that I like the reason for him saying that we retire. He was like, he seemed like the question mark was there. And he was like, he didn't want to recruit or bring anybody in when he couldn't promise that he was going to be there in the long run. And you know what I'm saying? That guy, just that statement right there was, and he seems happy, man. You know what I'm saying? He looks like it's, he's not being forced out. You know what I mean? So he seemed like he's excited. I'm happy for him, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's nice. And that's really nice of him, because that's one issue. And me and Chris have talked about this before, like how coaches, they go into these kids' houses and they make promises for them. And a lot of times these coaches are gone a year, and then the player is kind of screwed because, like, I thought I was going to be with you for 2-3 years, and you're gone after a year. And, I'm kind of glad that they started doing this transfer portal so the players don't have to sit out a year anymore. I think that that's kind of cool. But, like, no, I think that's nice that, he made that statement about, like, he didn't want to promise, because a lot of coaches, like, I know that you have to do what's best for you and your family, but I think a lot of coaches, they use certain programs as a stepping stone to get something like the former VCU coach, Will Wade, he used basically VCU as a stepping stone. Yeah, he used VCU as a stepping stone basically to get to LSU. And how does this man still have a job too, man? Like, I don't understand. Yeah, Will Wade. Yeah, I'm not talking about Shaka. Shaka was there for Will Wade was there for 2 years. He went to LSU, and then he was on tape saying some sketchy stuff. And this man still has a job, and I'm expecting. I was expecting for this dude to get fired. He's still coaching LSU. Yeah.
It's recruits. He getting them recruits. That's the thing. Wait, that's weird. Like,
hey, is that the football dude or is the basketball dude?
Basketball for VCU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I ain't gonna talk about Will Wade. I got a story about Will Wade, but I'll leave that. I'll leave that alone for tonight.
Is it story time?
No. It's just we had like an icy reception and a icy kind of interaction in an elevator one time, and it was a
Really?
little weird. But he's a good guy and all, but it was just kind of he looked at because this is when they were at there was an MSG at the tournament. It was a 2K tournament. This was in 2015. So we went down there. I think Duke was in the tournament. I think UConn, a couple other teams. So we went down there. We actually stayed in the same hotel as VCU. And we were just chilling, me and my uncle. We was like, just talking to him, and he just looked at us like he was scared of us. We like that's what's going on. But Will, he's a cool guy. He has a little icy reception, but he's all good. But the Coach K retirement. I wouldn't say I'm not too. Like the timing was kind of like, oh man, that's kind of it's kind of a a strange thing. But I mean, why not retire now, especially since his father just retired? So, but that's all jokes aside. But in all seriousness, what Coach K did for that program is just amazing. Like you said, the team that saved that documentary was great because you think about it, he was another team that Johnny Dawkins, Johnny Dawkins. What's your boy from Jay Billis, Billy King, all them. That documentary was pretty good when you look at it from the standpoint, and it really just helped amplify the rivalry. Like you said, selfish reasons too. I feel the same way because when there's a Duke Carolina, you look at Coach K as like you want to kind of view him as this type of antagonist type of character. And now, you won't see that on the sidelines no more. And and the funny thing about it is, and I talked to my uncle, he's a Duke guy as well. And we were just talking about like, as far as how the rivalry will be going forward, as far as, we talk about now, you talk about Hubert Davis versus John Shire, which and in a weird way are two different types of generations versus, Roy was the older standard. Not Roy, but Dean Smith was kind of like the elder statesman when Coach K came in 1980, and then when Roy came in 2003, it was kind of like, okay, we're like in the same generation. But just one of the things, with just Coach K, you gotta like tip your hat off to him. He was another guy when you look at the ACC, as far as he was like when he first came in, he was the kind of like the young punk, the rebellious kind of coach. He was kind of in that same line as the late Jimmy Valvano, where they were like the kind of the young guys, and they rub people the wrong way. They were like the new kids in school, where everybody was like, I don't mess with them per se. But what Coach K has done for this program is just it's been done short of amazing. You look at just like who he's recruited, and guys have made it on to the next level, and just guys in general, and in the game of life, you look at a lot of guys from that Duke brotherhood who've gone on to do great things outside of the basketball arena, and then also in the game of life. So definitely huge shout out to Coach K. We just we're not gonna take it easy on him. So his last regular season game will be in the Dean Dome. So we're not gonna take it easy on Coach, but it's a hell of a ride. Definitely looking forward to see what's gonna happen this year with your boys. But it's gonna be fun. It's definitely gonna be fun, and hopefully he'll have a great run, except for the 2 games he play against us. But I just hope this rivalry kind of sticks, man. I hope we have some other stuff going on with this rivalry, because other than that, man, it's definitely a great career for Coach K, and wishing him all the best, him and his family, and you have a great opportunity to ride off in the sunset. So definitely huge shout out to Coach K.
Right.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. He seemed real happy, man. I was watching the press conference, and he had his kids, and you know what I mean? Like, he just seemed like, you don't see him smile too much. He looks like Gargamel from the Smurfs. So you don't see him smile too much. So the whole time, like, for him to smile, it seemed like it was really hard for him to do it, and he did it. And I was like, especially when he talked about his 10 grandchildren, and I was like, yeah, it's about that time, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Like I said, he's the antagonist of this rivalry. Like, dude, like Coach K is so stoic, bro. That's what makes a rivalry better because to him, he's perceived as this evil character, and it's so fun. Like to see him smile is like, damn, like versus on the other end where Roy is so emotional. He which it's a contrast of two styles.
Yeah,
Roy can be tough, but he love on everybody, and I know Coach K does as well, but in a different way.
Yeah, Roy Williams is super emotional. He'll be crying and stuff after games.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hey, but I'm telling you that press conference had me because he was, especially when he was talking about Kenny Williams. Because of course Kenny Williams was from here. From former LC Bird player, and he was another guy. I was like, man, that's just you sit down, you think to yourself like he had like that photographic memory, just remembering guys and who he coached even back in the day. So yeah, man, it's just the end of an era of when we talk about coaching greats. Well, I think when we look, we still have coaching greats. We still got like guys like Bill Self, Calipari, even though everybody be on a little bit on the fence on those guys, but in the same token, they're there, but when we talk about like the ACC, we talk about these legends in our conference. It's like it feels like an end of an era, and like you said, selfishly, it sucks. But we know the day was gonna come for both Roy and Coach K. But yeah, man. But we definitely gonna wish him luck, but except for them 2 games against Carolina.
He keeps emphasizing. He gives some of those 2 games against Carolina. He keeps on emphasizing it.
Yeah, that's who he is, man. Like I thought he was going. I swear I thought he threw something when I said something about the records against the 2 North Carolina coaches. I looked at him. He didn't say nothing. I said maybe he didn't hear it.
Yeah. I know, but yeah, that's one thing. It's a rivalry, but it's friendly though. We might do tongue-in-cheek jokes, but hey, that's what makes the game. Honestly,
yeah.
So
it's not,
yeah.
It's not. It's not like one of these. It's not like one of these English football rivalries where they meet up and they like beat each other up before the games and stuff like that. So.
Right. And it ain't like Alabama and Auburn.
Yeah.
People, especially when it comes to football, man, they'll fight each other.
Oh yeah, I know they will.
Right.
So, fellas, let's talk a little college football. So, there are news now where essentially what's going to happen is the commissioners from each Power 5 conference are going to be meeting next week. They're going to present a couple models to expand the college football playoff. A couple models are suggesting that they're trying to create a 12-team playoff going forward. It has go through a few other steps. They also have to go through an 11-member committee that's responsible for the college football playoff. So basically, once they submit their plan, they'll submit it to the decision makers for that. So it looks like I don't want to say 9 times out of 10. But there is a good chance that this league is the college football playoff is going to expand to 12 teams. Your thoughts on it? I'm gonna go with you first, JB. Your thoughts on the college football expansion?
I mean, I've been going for this for a while, man. Like now, I do think that 12 is kind of a weird number, but I do kind of like it because, so here's the thing, man. When you think about the college football and when they've expanded to 4 teams, man, basically it seems like, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like 4 teams have pretty much dominated getting spots. Alabama is one. Clemson is another one. Ohio State and Oklahoma. And I mean, I just don't think it's fair to other teams. I mean, you saw the debacle. I forgot what year it was when TCU had that good record and TCU was ranked number 3. And then all of a sudden they beat the mess out of somebody. It was TCU and Baylor. What year was that? I forgot what year it was.
That was TCU and Baylor because these
was that 2015 or was that 2014? Because man, both of those teams were
what was It might have been because that was before all that stuff kind of went down.
Yeah,
It might have been like I think it might have been 15. I think it was 15.
yeah. I think, and you mean to tell me that a team is ranked number 3, they beat somebody by 50 points, and then all of a sudden they went from number 3 to number 5? That made no sense to me, man. That kind of like really bothered me because I thought that would have been a great chance for TCU to get on a national stage. And my dad made a very good point about this too. We were talking about this earlier. When the same teams keep on getting into it over and over again, a lot of these 5-star and 4-star recruits are going to these schools because they're like, oh man, I want to be on the national stage. I want to play in a playoff game. Whereas I think it's good for, per se, like Oregon to make it. And I mean, you have a Power 5 conference. And I mean, it seems like, in my opinion, that the Pac-12 is usually disrespected a lot of times when it comes to the playoffs anyway. So, I mean, like, and then you've had other teams too, like UCF was really good one year. They were like undefeated. You've had a bunch of teams that like would have made it. And, I just want to see, because, we saw this in 2006. What happens when a mid-major goes against one of the big boys? They can go toe-to-toe with them because Boise State beat Oklahoma. And a lot of people before the year had Oklahoma winning the national championship and Boise State beat them. So I just think it's good, man. I think it'll be good for the mid-majors. Now, 12 is kind of a weird number. I would like to make it more even, like maybe make it 8 or 16 teams. But, I mean, like, I think expansion is good, though, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Your thoughts, Maui?
I mean, I like stuff like that anyway, because you have your regular season, and then we all know, once you get to the playoffs, it's supposed to intensify. And I think even for the students, I think it'll teach them about levels. You know what I mean? Like, this is this, now this is this. So I like it as entertainment, and like, if I can't make all the regular season games, at least I could set myself up to watch the playoffs. I think it's exciting. You know what I mean? It's something new. I do have some questions for you guys, though, because I know they're trying to change the narrative. I wonder, why do you think that they even want to expand it to like 12?
Money.
It's about money, man.
Money.
Okay, so I mean, do you think they already like bringing in money and the numbers already, or you just think they feel like it's an opportunity?
Yeah, more games, more money.
Yep.
Okay.
More games, more money, and pretty much force. It's gonna be because what's gonna happen is gonna be a bidding war between ESPN, Fox, all them. I'm telling you, they're gonna college football is pretty much saying, "Hey, bring me my bag. Whoever has the biggest bag, you can have rights to this."
And
do you feel like they're doing this also because everything is starting to open up, and that 2020 season was kind of lost?
Yeah, I definitely think that plays a factor. That definitely plays a factor in it.
And I think when you sit down and you think about it, it lends itself to having an extended, because you think about it. Normally, the conference championships was supposed to be the first weekend of December. Compared to most championships, the 19th, that Saturday before Christmas. So that's a 2-week window where, and then you got to think about a lot of stuff was canceled too. Because you think about like the Big Ten, they didn't start until October 24th. The ACC started on time. And I think like we look at I hate to inject Carolina in the conversation once again, but like Carolina had a situation where they missed 21 days. And was still able to have a regular season that up until December. So it lends itself to it. I think, like you said, I think that's a perfect example where if you really start the season on time, like normal, like Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, then you have that flexibility where you can have your conference championship the first week of December, and then you can continue an additional round or two, a week or two after the conference championships. So I think.
Do you think that they're trying to learn from that? Because one thing I remember about with the pandemic happened, everybody was trying to necessarily get themselves to a situation so they can do the playoffs. You remember that? Like baseball and everybody was like, well, let us get here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and we can just focus on that. You know what I mean? But you know, that's really what my question is, because I'm like, you know, I don't really watch college football like I probably should, but when I do, and it was always they need a playoff. They was always complaining about these people being ranked number one. There was always these different scenarios, and then people be pissed off. And I'm like, well, why don't you have a playoff? We all know that. Even when they were playing in high school, you know, you should have a playoff. I don't understand why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and I think they know now, like, this is such a great opportunity to have it. But I think my thing is the 12, like you said, I'm actually I'm agreeing with you, JP, where the 12 is a little bit steep, because I think if you do 12, I think that's going to ultimately cheapen the regular season in essence, because it's almost like you're going to let everybody in, because you think about, because now I'm telling you, regardless of how we feel, and I know we talked about the mid majors, but they're going to be screwed again, because you know what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, probably.
You're going to have 2 or 3 SEC teams in that 12 team field. And I mean, you going right? It's going to. I'm telling you, it's going to lend itself to some craziness. I said at one time I was thinking maybe 6, and then the first 2 seeds get like a bye week or something of that type of nature. Almost kind of like how the NFL wild card used to be, where you used to have the 6 teams and the 2 teams have a bye. So that kind of still gives an incentive to win your conference championship. And I think that's been the biggest issue. Where now, if you expand it, you just gonna have multiple tiers of these teams playing. Which, like example, you had Alabama and Florida playing last year in the SEC championship. Both of them would make it, and they probably would be high seeds in both of those matchups. But then also, and I look at, like, in the mid-major perspective in your course, what you were saying, JB, but I look at like Coastal Carolina and BYU as kind of like an elimination game last year, where even though that was not planned, that was a situation where I don't know what happened with Coastal Carolina's opponent, but I think they couldn't play or something. I forgot who they were supposed to play, but BYU stepped in 24 hours before, 48 hours for that game. That to me was like the spot to make the playoffs. But like, I definitely think it should expand, but 12 is excessive. I think 12 is going to get to a point where then I think you're going
Well, how about this? If you do 12, put a cap on how many teams can come out of a conference. That's my thing. That's what I would say. Like, okay, like only 2 teams can come out of a conference would be what I would say. Like, yeah.
And that's the thing with, would that be the stick? And that, in a perfect world, that would make total sense. But I couldn't imagine like you telling that one of these commissioners this, because we know how it is. That's a great idea. You hope that they can agree to that, but I couldn't imagine like the SEC saying, "Oh, we'll agree to that." Because
I know. But it comes down to greed, man, because SEC is well, we'll get more money, yada yada yada. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think that there are pros and cons, and I can see sticking points to each one. But like, I definitely think that these mid majors are underrepresented. I think that like they're seen as kind of jokes. And I mean, you've seen Boise State go toe to toe with the big boys before. You've seen some of these mid majors when they have good teams go toe to toe, and they will go to some of these Power 5 conference teams. So I think one of the big things that I've always heard from the people from like the Big Ten, oh well, they couldn't beat some of our mid-tier teams. And you've seen mid-majors go on the road to some of these mid-tier, like mid-major, like these power conferences and beat the hell out of the team. So that's not true anymore. So I mean, like give these guys a shot,
Right.
And that's the issue. Yeah. That's the issue. Like, and I think a lot of people starting to talk about that, man. Like, like everybody should have an opportunity. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody, in some type of way. And even if the ACC say that, I mean, come on, man. Like, it's better for the sport. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. Is like, we trying to figure out what's better for the sport. If you the ACC, you the top dog of this and that, but you need to do what you need to do to be the top 2 in the top 2. You know what I mean?
And that's another thing. Yeah. And that's another thing, too, where you look at, And that's another thing too, because when you sit down and you really think about it, because the SEC could have probably yielded 3 teams seriously, like Texas A&M, Florida, and Alabama this year.
Yeah,
because they both all made it to a New Year's Six bowl. But that's the thing where, and then you look at it, and it's weird because even though I'm an ACC guy, but we know there's a huge drop between Clemson and everybody else. Carolina's kind of getting there. They're widening the gap. Miami, those type of teams, they're kind of widening the gap. But, that's one thing, too, where you just look at it from a standpoint of, like, it makes sense. It does make sense to expand it. But like we talked about earlier, that 12 is just expansive. Because even if you think about it, if you do the 2 teams in each conference, which in theory makes sense, too, because basically you're going to put whoever pretty much is going to be the 2 teams who make the conference championships are going to be those ones that's filling those 10 slots. And then the 2 are going to be like your wild cards. Maybe you have a Cincinnati, or maybe, just using last year, Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
Which now that that lends itself to that type of possibility where that could potentially happen. And I think probably they're going to do the 10, do the 12. But like I said, even to your point, JB, it's got to be a cap. It has to be a cap.
Yeah,
if I'm telling you, even if the SEC commissioner gonna have some hell, pretty much you're not leaving this room until we agree to the 2 teams because I'm telling you that's gonna be the biggest issue.
Oh yeah,
they're gonna cry on decision day and they're gonna piss. They're gonna be so pissed and bitch about this the whole winter about we only got 2 teams in.
Well, and you don't want it to turn into the SEC Invitational. I mean, like, and
right.
like here and there, and I think that's the thing too. But I just think that like teams like Cincinnati had a hell of a year last year. They weren't even taken seriously. I mean, like, how can you be undefeated and then there were teams that had 2 losses that were ranked ahead of Cincinnati. I mean, to me, that's just a joke right there. That's a joke right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they almost beat Georgia.
Oh yeah, I know they did. I know they did. So I don't
almost beat Georgia.
Yeah, and so I don't want to hear that like Cincinnati can't play with so and so. I mean, why did they almost beat Georgia if that's the case?
Right, and that's what I said. Let's figure it out on the big stage, not on just a second tier New Year's Day bowl. Let's add this and actually make it meaningful.
Right, and think about it, man. Like you said, they almost beat Georgia, and then they in the playoffs, and then that game comes up again. Yeah. And if they know that, that Cincinnati sitting there like, man, we almost beat them. I know we can beat them. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited. I'm ready to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you never know. Like let's just say there's a guy from like Ohio or Michigan, like the University of Michigan, Michigan State. Maybe it's not giving them any they're just like, oh well. Well, we might give you a scholarship, but he sees Cincinnati, and then Cincinnati's like, oh, well, we'll give you a full scholarship, and we see you as a future player. That could be instrumental in getting a couple of kids who might go, that might just be middling players, like at a Power 5 conference to go to Cincinnati. And I think that would be good, actually.
And I think with this too, it'll be more it'll eventually get balanced because if they do this, and a lot of people are not just going to want to go to the ACC, they're going to say, well, shit. I think I can go here. They give me a full scholarship, and their team most likely with me, we most likely get a chance to get into the playoff because everybody, I'm telling you, regardless, even if I'm just sitting here thinking from a marketing standpoint, if you don't watch college football all year, you're going to watch the playoffs. You're going if it's 12, especially if it's 12 teams, you're going to do that. You know, it's going to be everybody's going to make money all around. You know what I mean? I'm excited. I hope they do. I'm excited.
Yeah, and actually 2 other points before we move forward. The transfer portal. I think that's definitely going to help tremendously for that because you look at like Alabama and you think about like all these Power 5, these major schools like Clemson, Alabama, the ones like we say that always make the college football playoff. If you just sitting on the bench, it might lend yourself, hey, maybe I go down the road to Auburn, maybe I go down the road to UNC. Maybe I go from Ohio State. Maybe I go down the road and play at Bowling Green or Cincinnati. Like it lends itself to that particular opportunity. But in a selfish way too, man, this would be great because this would be something that probably going to be starting around right before Christmas. It's going to trickle down into like New Year's, and that's like I'm hoping. And one thing I hope that this does happen, that we have New Year's Eve games. I love that first year, and everybody said, well, we don't like it because, I got to be with my wife or my girlfriend or my significant other. And I'm thinking to myself, what they got to do with single guys who like sports? That has nothing to do with us. That has nothing to do with you. You need to plan accordingly. Like that, people used to be saying, "Oh, well, my wife wants me to go to some New Year's Eve party." It's a TV there.
I know, man. Smartphones, man. You can stream the stuff, man. That's what I was doing last night, man. Like, hey, man, it's not my fault that you took on that commitment.
New Year's at the sports bar. You know what I'm saying? Now everybody's starting to open up. They watching the games. Being at the colleges too. Like, man, it's I just think that. And then it's slots open because it's a lot of stuff on TV. Like, really, network TV don't know what to do. It's sad. They really don't. You know what I mean? They're so lost, and there's slots open for those type of games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think the old narrative is they're trying to change it too. They're trying to get rid of that old narrative and start something new. So, you know what I mean? Don't get left behind like y'all have been.
Yeah, exactly. So, fellas, let's talk about Julio Jones. So, Julio Jones was traded to the Tennessee Titans. Atlanta received a second-round pick in 2022 and then a fourth round in 2023. JB, your thoughts on Julio Jones in Nashville?
I definitely think that Julio Jones and AJ Brown, they're gonna be they're gonna be a nice 1-2 duo. But to me, again, I don't like this move from the standpoint that if you look at Tennessee last year, and I understand that they lost Jonnu Smith and they lost Corey Davis and they needed to replace them with somebody. Tennessee's biggest issue last year was not their offense; it was their lack of a pass rush. What have they done really to hey, we're going to make the other quarterback uncomfortable? I mean, I still have doubts about that defense. So, I mean, yeah, it looks nice. It looks good. But at the end of the day, what's been holding Tennessee back the last few years has not been, their offense. I mean, they have a good offense. They move the ball well. They run the football well. Ryan Tannehill has really, came into his own as an older football player, but their biggest issue has just been they can't get to the quarterback. And Julio Smith, it's gonna be beautiful, man. Him and AJ Brown, man, nice 1-2 punch. But are they going to be able to stop Josh Allen? Are they going to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes? I have my doubts, man. I really do.
Yeah.
So, JB, you think there's smoke and mirrors? They giving us an illusion?
I mean, their offense is going to be good, man. I still have them as a playoff team, but I think that Mike Vrabel is not there just to get them to the playoffs. This man is a very competitive guy. Won 3 Super Bowls with Belichick, or did he win 4?
Right.
I mean, Vrabel doesn't want just to make the playoffs. He wants to get there and get all the way to the big game. I mean, I just can't see them getting all the way to the big game. I could be wrong, and maybe some of their younger players are going to develop into legit pass rushers. But I like I said, I think that their offense is going to be great, man. But their offense was great the last few years. I mean, ever since they put Ryan Tannehill back there, their offense has been really good. If you love offense, man, then definitely, man, you're going to want to watch Tennessee. Yeah. I mean, no, I'll probably be watching the highlights. No doubt, man. I mean, he's going to help their team, but does he help their defense? I don't think he does, man. Not at all.
They say Ryan redid his contract, so they got like $15 million to the side. They said that Ryan or Julio has a good chance to be MVP candidate, and they putting him at the top 2 teams in the NFL right now. And I listen to what you're saying, I'm like, wow. But then I heard, why did Atlanta get rid of him?
Salary cap hell. They couldn't afford him.
Okay. Because I saw something too where they were saying some things that didn't he have like a hamstring issue?
Yeah, because he missed. I forgot how many games
Yeah,
he
yeah,
last year. He missed he missed a good chunk of games last year.
Right.
But I think, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's cool. I mean, I'm gonna give it to you anyway. But I'm saying,
yeah.
I was thinking, okay, why would they? And you said salary cap, and I'm like, okay, where if they trade him and get him on a team, most likely the Titans will probably give him what he wants. But I wonder if he kind of might be somewhat damaged goods because they already putting a lot of pressure on him that he gonna be this, he's gonna be that, he gonna be this, and I'm like, no offense. I mean, I like Julio Jones, but I'm an AB guy, and it's always either AB or Julio. And I'm like, he hasn't even played for him yet, and they already crowning him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that happens. I mean, that's one thing too. Like Twitter went crazy Sunday.
Right.
I was like, I thought something was wrong, and they're like, oh yeah, man, he got traded. I'm like, what?
And I'm sitting there like, no disrespect. Yeah. I'm sitting there like, well, okay, well, shit, it's just. You know what I mean? I'm like,
but
I
think I think really the crux of it is this production was managed last year, where 2 years ago he had 1,300 receiving yards, and then 2018 he almost had 1,700. So I think that's one thing too when people look at trades from a psychological, you look at production when a player is healthy. So last year, I think he had 771 yards, which was good, but Julio Jones standards,
that's poor for Julio Jones. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and Maui, I wouldn't say it's damaged because I think last year was just really weird because of with them not having a training camp, no mini camp. You saw a lot of soft tissue injuries last year with people having hamstrings and quads, and because even AB, I thought AB was going to have a better year than he did last year, and I thought AB was he had his injury issues because I think. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think he really even practiced during their playoff run. So I mean, I wouldn't look too much into it because he's been a pretty durable guy, other than last year. And I think that this year, with them having the training camp and everything like that, I think he'll be good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, like you said, and the biggest thing, it's great for offense, but defense. And that's funny. And it's funny. I've been talking about this ad nauseum even last year when we were doing the pregame show where it's so funny when you look at, and it's funny. Shout out to my my See You Sunday co-host Steven. And we used to talk about this all the time because if you not even like a blind resume, but you think about a Mike Vrabel team, a former linebacker from one of the greatest defensive gurus of all time, and Coach Belichick. And you think he coached a team, who you think what side of the ball would you think he would be good at as far as coaching wise? Would you think he has a good defense or a bad offense, or vice versa? It's a total polar opposite where he has a bad defense but he has a good offense. And when you think it's just the whole thing about but once they get a defense, it's like I said, who are they gonna stop? They lost to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, like Josh Allen, all these other guys, and Patrick Mahomes, who are essentially going to be in your way in the AFC, and hell, Baker Mayfield. Sorry to say that, Deshaun, but I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, here's what it is. But yeah, I think that's the thing where you look at that team, you think to yourself, like Mike Vrabel has a team that offense is like a liability. I mean, the defense is a liability.
Liability, yeah.
It is strange. We've always kind of thought to ourselves like week in and week out last year was like, this doesn't even sound right. but yeah, I think it'll be a great it's a great addition for them. Ryan Tannehill has another target to throw to, and then coupled with that running game with King Henry, they're just gonna wear you down. They're just gonna wear you down on the ground and in the air. So I mean, pack your lunch when you play the Tennessee Titans team on offense.
Right. Maybe that's what they're going to do is try to control the ball more, and maybe that might help the defense. They won't put as much pressure on the defense.
Yeah, like you said, yeah. But yeah, man. So let's put a bow on this week's Couch Coach Live, fellas. We're giving out game balls this week for the first time in quite some time. We haven't had game balls in a minute. So
Right.
I'm gonna go with you first, JB. Your game ball this week.
All right, man. I'm gonna give my game ball to the Joker, man. Like he won the MVP, man. Like I think that it's great that a center won the MVP again. The kid is phenomenal, man. Like he's really gotten better every year. So I'm gonna give my game ball. I'm gonna give my game ball to the Joker, man. He also shout out to them beating Denver. I know a lot of people had shout out to Denver beating Portland. I know a lot of people had Portland winning that series, but I mean, like, I thought it was really impressive, man. Like, they've had a bunch of injuries, and Austin Rivers on a 10-day contract. They're playing, they're playing a little leprechaun from Argentina.
Right. Getting rebounds and everything.
Monte Morris is balling too. So yeah, man, shout out to the Joker, man. Like, well deserved MVP, man.
Yeah. Mal, who you got?
I'm gonna give 2 game balls, and it's dealing with boxing. I'm gonna give the first one to Deontay Wilder for winning his arbitration against Tyson Fury, whereas they had a contract to have 3 fights. Tyson Fury tried to move on and fight another guy, and they took it to court, and he was either going to have to pay $20 to $80 million to Deontay Wilder, or he was going to have to renegotiate to have another fight. But I'm also giving it to Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. Logan Paul got paid $20 million for 8 round fight, and Floyd got $30 million. Chad Ochocinco got $1 million. But the coolest thing about it was that, it was 1.2 million pay-per-view buys. And, everyone was saying that, nobody would want to watch boxing or anything like that. And they did it again, with streaming and everything. Floyd, man, they shut down Showtime boxing pay-per-view. It was a glitch in it. Like, it shut it down. And I hear everybody being negative, but I'm going to tell y'all the truth. Like, because, I'm going to tell y'all the truth on CCL. Nobody understand that PBC Boxing was actually had to renew their contract with Fox and CBS. And what they used is they had their insurance, which is who? We'd get Floyd Mayweather in the ring. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's why this happened. And now from now till August, we're going to have some great fights. So shout out to him, man. Another thing is I look at Floyd as somebody special, and to be able with that electricity to see him in the ring again was great. And it's sad because people don't understand that he was really somebody special, and you may not see anybody like him again. And they're really not giving him the respect that he deserves. Because I went back and watched some old fights, man. And I realized that the crowd has never said Floyd, 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 like, you know what I mean? And they're never going to give him what he really deserved. You know what I'm saying? So I want to give him the game ball. Congratulations. Another $100 million.
I know, man. Yo, a payday like no other, man. Definitely huge shout out to that, man. I didn't even watch the fight. It was a school night. So.
I mean, for me, I like boxing, and the guy was huge, B. Like, he was huge, and as I was watching it, I was like, I watched Floyd fight, so like the dude was smart. He fought the way you would fight. Like, if you get hit, hold, and he was not small, B. Like, Floyd looked like Arnold. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was tiny, bro.
Yeah. So my game ball goes to Odyssey Alexander, the pride of Palmer Springs, Virginia, the pitcher for the JMU Dukes. She did her thing in the College Women's World Series, 66 strikeouts. She pitched 64 2/3 innings out of a possible 71 2/3 innings. So she pretty much pitched 90% of the innings pitch for the Dukes. Then also she had 1,057 total pitches. Definitely huge shout out to JMU. They were the darling of the College Women's World Series, even though they did end up losing to Oklahoma in the semifinals. But definitely a team that was unseeded, made it to the College World Series. semifinals. Definitely huge shout out to the Lady Dukes and obviously to Odyssey Alexander. So, fellas,
congratulations.
yes, fellas. Final thoughts before we head on out.
Great show.
Yeah,
it was good to be back, and I appreciate you guys for being so nice because I know deep down, y'all wanted to get me. But I will say this: it was a sacrifice for the Lakers not to be in because with a lot of stuff I predicted is happening. Because Trae Young is doing his thing, so is Booker in the playoff. So is Utah.
Oh, you muted. Can't hear you.
Oh, I was about to say, the one thing that I really liked about Trae Young is like the whole thing with New York, man. That shit was just oh my god, man. I was loving it. It was like he's like the new light-skinned villain.
Yeah, he's Reggie Miller. He's Reggie Miller in New York.
He's a new. I just loved him going at them game 1, game 2, and game 5. I loved Capella because like they were saying like the Knicks were trying to to bully them and stuff like that, and Capella like outright said after game 4 he was like, well, we're sending you home. We're sending you guys home, and they did it, man. It was beautiful, man.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, JB?
No, man. No final thoughts, man. It was great talk. It was great talking to you guys. No, Deshaun, I'm not gonna rub it in, man. It was just sad, man. I felt bad for LeBron actually because there were a few games, sometimes in that game 6 where he was kind of looking at Schroeder like what the fuck, man. I do not want you on the team next year. Okay. I don't want you on the team next year.
I didn't want to tell y'all this, but I didn't watch the game, so I went by my dad's house 3 days later. He was like, man, I ain't watching that stuff. So look, I couldn't take it, so I was watching it through Google right in the middle of the second quarter. And I said, Booker got 34 points? I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, they not playing no defense. And then I looked at the Lakers stats, and I was like, Schroeder ain't got no points? It's only LeBron and fucking KCP. I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, man, it was sad, man. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, another great show here on Couch Coach. Yeah, we was, we ain't it wasn't even that situation where we was gonna dog you. It wasn't even that serious. We knew kind of going in that this team was kind of not at full strength, so it won't it won't even really ain't really nothing to be like kind of like clowning for because hey, it was gonna happen.
Right. So look, I think LeBron knew that. He was like, man, I'm not about that because they lost. They was down. They ended up losing by 13. And I think LeBron. They said what 7 minutes left or 5 minutes left. He went out the game.
He got
it to 10. And I think he was like, man, I'm not about to do this again. No.
Right.
No, y'all not doing this to me.
Yep. So yeah, once again, another great show. Follow us on social media, Couch Coach Live, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also, new podcast. Check it out. New podcast. Washington Football Guys podcast every Friday, starting this Friday at 8:00 with my guy Rob Cruz of the Football and Chill podcast. We're forging together and having the ultimate Washington football centric podcast. Everybody's new favorite Washington football podcast debuts this Friday. That and then also once again every Monday, check me out on the NBA Carousel as I talk about the LA Clippers, the only LA team that's in the playoffs. I'm sorry, no. But yeah, so definitely check me out there on Mondays at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, man. So yeah, man. This has been this week's Couch Coach Live, man. We will catch you guys next week.
Come on, Joker. I need you. Joker. You're welcome.
All right, fellas. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.